fat. MDB gave that and said, scat. I said, but I just arrived. He said, no, get on the mic and talk jive. 1, 2, and you don't stop. Urbanator got the flavor influenced by post-bop greats. Yo, I can swing this. It tastes like Thelonious Monk, Charles Mingus, KD, and Grant Green. The kind of vibe the average rapper can't capture or adapt to when they rap to uninspired jazz tracks that sound tired. We come original with notes and prose composed from scratch. This tune is a fresh batch, A or B. What's more better, G? We got the recipe for hot jazz biscuits. Hot jazz biscuits. Our Father, who art blinky, hallowed be the beat. I meditate from my seat in a treetop. What's the true meaning of skilly bebop? Apply to hip-hop. Is it defined by reaching or jazzmatazz as I lounge on a hot jazz track? Or rather a biscuit with butter? I'm cool like that, solid, don't stutter. Face on the grand live band with the shades and the fly tans. To the left, stashes and goatees, macking like OGs. Feel a sustain from the low-key, slow breeze through your brain as you close your eyes like the closing doors on the A train. My lyrics is gravy for hot jazz biscuits. Hot jazz biscuits. Hot jazz biscuits. Hot jazz biscuits. On the grand live band with the shades and the fly tans. To the left, stashes and goatees, macking like OGs. Feel a sustain from the low-key, slow breeze.
Right. So radio as a tool for dissemination of information has also been the force of evil in other countries in terms of fomenting trouble. And I'd like to hear your thoughts of community-based radio for a long time regarding what you think we can use radio for, really, especially at the rural areas where community radio is really their first, point of information.
Thank you very much, Shamima. I am the coordinator of the Ghana Community Radio Network, which is the association of non-profit, non-partisan, non-sectarian, development-centered radio stations. Our experience in all our interaction with our communities is that across the length and breadth of Ghana, there is a real hunger for peace. And therefore, if the broadcasting stations genuinely represent the experiences and sentiments of the Ghanaian people, there will be no problem with peace. The problem is that our media is warping the discourse in our country and introducing different kinds of interactions that are not the norm in the day-to-day interactions of our communities. So let's listen to them and authentically represent them.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. I think that was helpful, isn't it? At least it sets the stage for what we're about to hear and learn and share together, and what personal commitments we must make to this very journey that we all do, and I don't want a destabilized country. I'm just about to begin my life, so I want a stabilized country to have a wonderful family and children who would grow and aspire to do all that they want, and I'm sure many of us want that for ourselves, and we can't sit passively and wish that to happen. I guess we all have to work very hard at keeping the peace that we have. So if I have my cue, do I? Right. Very well. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special forum on radio hate speech and election-related violence in Africa. As you all know, Ghana is going to the polls in about 20 days, and a lot has been happening. The campaigns are definitely heating up. So the Media Foundation for West Africa has decided to use under its promoting issue-based and decent language campaign for peaceful, free and fair elections in Ghana in 2012 to talk about radio, hate speech and election-related violence, and how radio can be used in a more empowering and enabling way rather than a disempowering and disenabling way. So today we'll be hearing experiences from Côte d'Ivoire. We would also hear experiences locally from the project that the Media Foundation for West Africa has been engaged in terms of monitoring the use of indecent language on radio, some highlights from the findings as well, and we will also be sharing lessons from each other. We have here in the British Council, where we are coming to you live from, representatives of various civil society organizations, the Media Commission, the journalists are here themselves, the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association and the Ghana Journalists Association, who will all be sharing key learnings and expectations of what role they will be performing. My name is Shamima Muslim. I'm a broadcaster myself, and I'm very happy to be part of this forum. We are live on Joy FM, also live on Unique FM, and I'd like to start almost immediately now by calling on the Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, who would give us the welcome remarks and introduce to us our chairperson for today's occasion. Let's welcome Professor Kwame Kakari.
Thank you very much, Shamima, and good morning to you all distinguished invited guests. On behalf of the Media Foundation for West Africa, I welcome you to this program on radio, hate speech, and election-related violence, which is being held at the British Council Hall in Accra. Since April this year, the Media Foundation for West Africa has been monitoring political programs on radio to promote, one, issues-based campaigning by political parties and their candidates; two, ethical and professional standards in radio journalism; and three, to encourage the use of radio programs to promote peaceful, fair, and transparent elections in our republic. Ladies and gentlemen, radio, as we know, can be used to promote progress, unity, and enlightenment. But it can also be misused to cause divisiveness, trouble, and problems in society. Today, we are holding this program, which is being transmitted live on Joy FM, Unique FM, and so on, to share the experiences of the use of media in elections in Kenya and Côte d'Ivoire. We invited another expert from Rwanda, but unfortunately, he missed his flight yesterday. We will, however, hold another event on December 3rd here again, and will include in that program the experience of Rwanda on December 3rd. Fellow citizens, for this program today, we have the singular honor to invite, as the chairman of this very important program, Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante to be our chairman. Our chairman, Most Reverend Professor Asante, is also the chairman of the National Peace Council, president of the Bible Society of Ghana, and the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church of Ghana. There are many other distinguished feats our chairman has made, but for brevity, I'll just leave the introduction there. But I want to also say that he's also a scholar and an academic of high reputation. Fellow citizens, may I welcome our chairman, Most Reverend Professor Asante, to guide our program to success this morning. May I also take this opportunity to express our utmost appreciation to the organizations who have supported our program. ABIS is supporting today's forum. Star Ghana has been the organization that has been providing support for the project to monitor language use on our airwaves. And as we have repeatedly said, Joy FM is also supporting us by broadcasting this live. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call on our most respected chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is your audience. Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to commend the Media Foundation of West Africa for the significant role it continues to play in promoting decency in our political discourse. I am particularly grateful for inviting me to chair this function, the purpose of which is to promote issue-based and decent language campaigning for peaceful, free, and fair elections in Ghana 2012. There is no doubt that the generality of the media in Ghana have offered much that is positive to the Ghanaian political process, including broader knowledge of the political dynamics of the society and a more informed insight into the process of democratic governance. The media have been particularly instrumental in facilitating national public discourse and political activism. The media have placed the spotlight on issues of good governance and the rule of law in the country. And studies have shown that a good number of the people sampled do get information from the media on democracy and politics, which they consider as being enough to make them know about what is going on. To a good number of the people sampled, information flow from the media enlightened them on the issues that confront the nation. The generality of the people sampled agreed in principle that without the media, it would have been a bit difficult to understand many of the issues that border on democracy and politics, and that the media is a necessary instrument in the era of Ghana's constitutional governance to help in the consolidation of the process. But the media's positive contribution should not blind us to the dangers inherent in mass communication, especially the electronic media, radio in particular, where effective control can be in the hands of very few, usually wealthy and politically biased, powerful individuals who may be motivated by pecuniary and political interest. Indeed, the centrality of truth and the danger of manipulating, oversimplifying, or distorting truth to fit the medium, the time available, the producer's intention, or the station owner's wishes are crucial concerns of media ethics. The media personnel, in the sense of those who work in and for the media, may face ethical problems over conflicts of interest which might affect their objectivity and ability to report accurately and justly. Involvement with a news source or pressure from a superior to omit or add an item militates against objectivity. In spite of the media's positive contribution in respect of Ghana's democratic development, a few sampled are of the view that the media have distorted the meaning of democracy in Ghana. According to this group of people, individuals and panel to give their views on political issues tend to be partisan in their discussions and often resort to the blatant use of abusive and indecorous language. Newspapers have articles which malign individuals or groups for their political ideas with impunity. Some who post comments on newspaper articles on the internet, and those who phone radio stations to make contributions on political issues tend to use derogatory, incendiary, unprintable and insulting language against their opponents, sometimes on live radio, television, as well as in newspapers. The behavior these This behavior has the potential to bring chaos in the sense of political violence, and therefore must be held in check and sanctioned. A roundtable discussion on 208 presidential and parliamentary elections tagged some journalists as unprofessional and some media house as politically biased, partisan, and influenced by politicians. Some media houses were blamed for putting news items out there which were based on rumors to incite the public to violence. Today's event could not have come at a better time. As chairman of the National Peace Council, my office has been working with stakeholders around the clock to promote peace throughout the country, especially before, during, and after the December elections. I am happy to be associated with today's event, and my prayer is that after this event, our airwaves will be characterized with political civility and decency. On this note, I humbly accept to chair this event. Thank you. But I will still employ the help of my dear sister Shanima to continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to do that. Another round of applause for our chairperson. Right, let me just introduce to you the individuals we have seated in front of us. I don't like using high table, but the very distinguished individual seated in front of us. And I'd like to first of all introduce to my immediate left, Gerald Ankra, Executive Secretary of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association. Welcome. Let's show some love. Thank you. Okay, so we know Professor Kakari already, no? Or should I introduce him again? Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa. Of course, we just heard our chairperson, Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante. And our two invited guests from outside of Ghana who will be sharing experiences from their countries. We have Professor Kimani Jogu, who is from Kenya. Welcome, sir. We'll also be hearing today from Kona Tedo, who is from Ivory Coast. And of course, a round of applause to all of us who made it to today's program. Now I would like to invite the Deputy Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleiman Abrahima. He will be giving us some highlights of findings of the campaign on language monitoring on radio. It promises to be interesting as it will be controversial in some cases. So let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Shamima. I'm just going to present, just the trends because of time. But I believe that eventually my colleagues or the office can make available the full report to all of us here and others who will be interested. And I'm presenting it here, but the figures that I'll be mentioning are also projected up there. Now, this is what we found out from our monitoring from April 1 to November 10. Now, in terms of the categories of expressions that we often record, the highest is comments that are insulting and offensive, and that is 175 of them that have been tracked so far. This is followed by unsubstantiated allegations, 145, provocative remarks, 62, innuendos, 26, confrontation or comments that are, calling for confrontation and violence, 21. Then in terms of the breakdown by political parties, the MPP or supporters, activists or persons affiliated with the MPP, we cited 196 of them, followed by the NDC, 167, the NDP, I don't know how many months old now, but 17, URP 11, CPP 5, PNC 2, and the PPP 1. But there are other people who also make comments that it's difficult to place them in any of these parties because we cannot trace their party affiliation. And so altogether, that also make up 55. Now, the breakdown by radio stations, and we've highlighted the radio stations that have recorded 20 or more. And the radio station on which a lot of these incidents occur is Oman FM, 106. It is followed by Radio Gold, 45. Angel FM, 36. Classic FM, 36. Angel FM is in Kumasi, Classic FM is in Techiman, Adom FM here in Accra. They used to be in Tema, but I think now they are in Accra here, 34. And then Kesben FM also in Kumasi, 20. Now, in terms of general trends, the observation is that supporters or affiliates of the MPP and the MDC are the people who use the most of these expressions that we would describe as indecent, as the statistics earlier presented showed. Then in terms of radio station, Oman FM is the station on which a lot of these incidents occur, and particularly on two programs on that radio station, the National Agenda program, which I think is their morning show, and then the Boiling Point discussion program, which is usually broadcast in the evenings. Now, the findings also show that most of these indecent expressions are perpetrated by men. And if you take the breakdown, males or indecent expressions that were made by males, 408, and then females, 15. Now, individuals who made more than 10 indecent expressions, who alone accounted for 30 of the indecent expressions, Honorable Kennedy Ejapon, MPP MP for Asin North, 29, Ni Kwate Tatos Glover, 13, and David Osei, also 13. So we think that because of time, we just want to present these highlights, and the intention is that this serves as the evidence for which we are organizing this forum, so that we highlight the potential consequences of this practice that is on radio, and that is why we've invited experts from countries like Cote d'Ivoire and Kenya. And I think in 2008, for example, Kenya was an issue. Somebody was accused of saying that Ghana would be like Kenya, and a whole lot of debate around Kenya. And quite unfortunately, our expert from Rwanda couldn't make it. But as Prof said, we hope to have him on the forum that is being planned on 3rd of December. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And that was the Deputy Executive Director for the Media Foundation for West Africa. We'll definitely have time for questions and answers as well as contributions. Just note those questions and the contributions that you want to make. We'll take all the speeches, then we'll go into the questions and answer session. So we'll now hear first from the experience in Cote d'Ivoire and closer. Ghana, and we'll be hearing on the role of partisan media in the Ivorian Civil War. Let us invite Mr. Konate Do, who is the Assistant Manager in charge of Press Development, National Press Council, and he also has expertise in media monitoring. With a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Konate Do.
Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here today and share with you about our experience of the last presidential election. My development will be about the typology of Ivorian media during that election, the language they use in this media, and at last, the regulation of the media in that period. The typology of Ivorian media during the 2010 presidential election period, and in Ivory Coast since 1990, we have two categories of media: the state-owned media, radio, television, and a daily, which is Fraternité Matin, and rural radios. The private media is the second category, and we have newspapers owned mainly by individuals and political parties. Private media are composed of at least of 15 dailies and other periodicals, community radios, and one commercial radio. There's no private television in Ivory Coast. Rural and community radios are not allowed to deal with news linked to political activities. Considering the editorial trend, we classify them into three categories. The opposition media, they backed up the opposition candidates and were at least 7. The media who backed up the party on power, there were at least 7 also. And we have what we call the independent media. This category were considered as being free from political influence, as being neutral media, and would therefore be fair with all the candidates, 3 public media and some 3 private newspapers. But by the end of the second ballot, as the candidates were fighting, each of them considering himself as the winner, some of these media became partisan, backing up the one or the other candidate. So by the end of the presidential election crisis, we could hardly find any impartial media. Like politicians, the media were divided into 2 groups, fighting for the victory of the candidate through words and language. What was the language in the media at that time? Here, 2 aspects must be considered. You have the language used by the journalists themselves and the language used by other people, mainly the politicians, and reported by the media. In fact, from the breakout of the crisis in 2002, and for the 9 years it lasted, the language was inappropriate in many Ivorian media. People from both sides, those on power and the opposition, had unfriendly relationship. The majority of the media followed this trend. This situation worsened during the campaign as we proceeded towards the end of the crisis. Media deontology and ethics were frequently violated. Articles through words and pictures expressed hatred, xenophobia, defamation, abuses, irreverence, violence, and so on and so forth. Why was it so? Because many journalists in our country are not well trained or not trained at all. Generally, they don't know how to write or how to speak and are not even aware that they violate the rules. Many media and journalists, this is the second point, are under the influence and even the control of the politicians. They did anything politicians ordered them to do and echoed everything they say. They echoed it immoderately and in a bombastic style and without discrimination. In most cases, they acted so on purpose. They expected rewards from politicians. In our media, we had manipulation, denigration, misinformation and disinformation, propaganda, sensational information, appeal to violence, mounting of images, inappropriate illustrations. There were more opinion papers and less information papers. Many newspapers communicated in favor of the candidates, their backup, and depicted them as angels, whereas their opponents were seen as devils. Other targets of an media were communities, administration, institutions, or individuals who were suspected, rightly or wrongly, to be on the other side, what they call the side of the rival or the side of the enemy. Let's consider these 2 examples. Against the UN forces and administration. The bombing and killing of individuals were preceded by declarations from politicians in media. Forces and administration after an encounter with youngsters, were presented as imperialist forces sent by superpowers, namely France and the USA, to help enemies to take the power so that they can loot easily the country. Of course, we knew that this kind of idea and opinion were diffused in the population by some politicians. One of the candidates was even said to be, was even said by his rival to be the foreigner's candidate. But instead of condemning politicians' behavior and their inappropriate language, some journalists echoed their position and insidiously encouraged people to carry on what they are already begun, that is to say violent actions, as they enhance the shocking images of wounded and dead people to illustrate their commentaries. Words and images were carefully chosen and violence was suggested. There's no doubt that during the last presidential election, the language in Ivorian media had a huge impact on individuals as people were psychologically and materially prepared to violence for many years. The problem with a country like Ivory Coast is that the majority of population is illiterate, poor and young, so they are not aware of the realities that are hidden behind political actions, and they can hardly understand that they are misled by politicians and media. They take everything they hear from and see in media as gospel truth. The behavior of media with the indecent language during the 2010 presidential elections, I can see, was the consequence